Hello and welcome back to the Talkin Bits podcast, also known as Nathaniel Boer's post-therapy session.
That's right.
I am your host, Michael Rose. With me is Banana Head himself.
Yep.
And
that one's me.
A very special guest, the one, the only,
The one, the only, dude.
John Murphy.
We did it. We did it.
Please, everybody, calm down.
I bet there's a lot of John Murphys, actually. I bet that feels like a common
There's
name.
only one. There's only one that matters, for
That
sure.
is true.
There's only
There's
one
a
that
Charlie
matters.
Murphy.
There's only one John Murphy who's ever been on my roof
There
before.
is a Charlie. That's true.
I've got a Charlie Murphy story. I don't know if we're ready to start.
You met
stories.
Charlie?
No,
you
we're
met
in.
Charlie Murphy?
No.
I was about to say, this is getting wild.
Yeah, this is
Charlie
straight off
Murphy.
the bat.
Shout
So
out.
me and Charlie were hanging out. No.
Sure.
When I was in high school, I guess Tennessee does the same thing. There's a future business leaders from FBLA, right? So we went on an FBLA trip to D.C., and I was a freshman, and there were all these seniors who were like super cool, and I wanted to be a part of their group or whatever. They found out my last name was Murphy, so they started calling me Darkness because Charlie Murphy was on the Chappelle show at the time. They're like,
Yes.
"Oh, we're calling you Darkness, man."
Sure.
Cut to like a year and a half later, I start working with one of these guys, and he's like, "Hey, John, come over here." And I was like, "Man, I'd prefer if you called me Darkness." You know, just like a throwback. I thought I was being cute, like with a throwback. And he's like, "All right, you fucking weirdo." He didn't remember me. So for the rest of that job experience, there's like, that's a kid who wants to be called Darkness or something.
It's like on Step Brothers when they were like, call me Dragon. And
Call
Yeah.
me Nighthawk.
Nighthawk. Yeah.
Still, being called Darkness is pretty bad. Being called the guy who wants to be called Darkness
That's
is
so much worse.
way
It's so much
worse.
And
It's
that-
kind of like eating a Ritz cracker with nothing
plain.
to go with
Just
it.
dry Ritz.
Just
Oh my
eating. For
God.
anyone who's listening, Murphy and I just watched. Okay, we're currently watching this asshole Michael Rose eat dry Ritz cracker, just the butteriest little cracker on its own, and he is pounding water to try and wash this down. He also just everything about Michael was so offensive today. When I walked in, I actually got my face is hot. I'm visibly angry
I'm
just
happy.
from being around him.
I'm happy to be this for you.
There's a lot going on with.
I
him
do
today.
want to go on record. Again, I'm not against Big Cracker.
No.
I'm a Cracker fan.
Absolutely.
But it is a vehicle to deliver other objects to your mouth.
Right.
It's
Right.
not just a solo endeavor.
Sure.
Dude, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like I've done the other stuff on the Ritz before, but I'm definitely like a plain Ritz kind of guy.
Yeah.
Dude,
It just says a lot.
you know what
It
I like
just-
more than Ritz crackers? Honest to God,
It better be something not as offensive.
saltines.
Yeah,
I do. I
yeah.
love them.
You kind of are just a saltine of a
I
person.
will say saltine, like, I don't even think that it works as a vehicle.
I don't even know what you.
Right.
What are you supposed to eat with saltines? Soup or something?
I
or
think
salad?
it is simply to crumble into soup.
I
to
think
give-
it's when you're so sick that your body cannot handle anything remotely similar to food that you go, I'm going to put this. It's essentially a fucking wafer from church when they give the body of Christ. That's what you're eating right now.
Yep.
You're
You
over there
Catholic
just eating
secretly?
the body of
Do
Christ.
they do that in Baptist church? They do that in Catholic churches.
No, we did it. I don't know. Maybe my guy was just on something. I don't know.
Do they do that in Baptist churches?
It's an
We
isolated
seem to do
incident.
it.
I think that's a Catholic thing, isn't
No,
it?
we seem to do
Yeah,
it.
the body of Christ, blood of Christ.
No,
a
but
little
like
bit
the
of wine.
wafer, that's a Catholic thing, is it
Well,
not?
And
we
around
use-
here in the Baptist church, you snort a line of crack. and
Right.
That's,
Yeah.
the
We
spirit
use
of Christ.
You
oyster
snort,
crack.
you snort a line of dried up Christ blood. I'm sorry for saying that.
We used
everybody.
oyster
I'm a
crackers, but it was
professional.
like it's kind of like they bought it in bulk about a decade ago, and they weren't running out, so they were real dry. Like you just think
Yeah.
crackers are dry when they're fresh, dude. Imagine.
I don't think
10-year-old.
you like crackers.
I don't like crackers.
Yeah.
I'll stand on it. I'm not. I mean, sure, if it's on a tray, maybe, but it's just something to
The
get the
vehicle,
salami
yeah.
into my mouth. There's
Crackers
no
and
reason.
salami. That is good.
Don't isolate
You're
that.
right.
And
What do you guys
Get the salami. You're the one who yeah.
clip it?
I do have a
clip it,
story
so
for
that's-
I have a story for old Darkness over here.
All right,
so
hit me with it.
yeah.
when I was early high school, I think. Yeah, because it doesn't matter. I was early high school. I played Xbox Live like most dudes did. And
Let's not judge.
yeah.
Yes.
And
What I was
we
doing
were,
earlier.
I don't remember what Call of Duty
Same
it was, but my friends and I were like, we're going to start a clan on Call of Duty. And we all changed our gamer tags
Right.
to Swagger So ... And then mine was Swagger So Dark. So
pretty
swagger's
cool
so dark,
that
bro.
you found a way to brag about an Xbox clan 15 years ago, and we are 4 minutes in. I'd like to refer back to when I said that Michael is the most offensive person of all time. There's nothing that gets under my skin like being in a room with this guy. The fucking,
I love you, buddy.
dude, a clan tag from Xbox Live is where you took that. For real, that is so.
I also had a. I
You know
also
what that
had
super
a.
embarrassing story where you tried to like make a guy remember a thing about you? Yeah, that reminds me of my Xbox days.
Well, I thought we were talking about your darkness. My
Darkness,
swagger
dude.
is so dark, you know.
Your
I also
clan
was
tag.
my gamer tag at one point was also Castro's daddy on,
Of course
on
it was, dude.
Xbox.
Like
so-
Fidel?
You're also, I mean,
yeah,
Like Fidel Castro?
yeah.
to be fair, I've always
the-
assumed that Michael was a big fan of the clan. I've always
Yeah.
thought that he probably
Oh, the clan or
was
Castro?
a part of the clan. And so
Bad
that
day to wear
kinda, it's bad. That hood is down, but it's pointy, folks.
bad
It's
day.
a pointy ass hood.
Bad
If
day.
it was up.
Oh.
Here's the interesting thing. Even if that hood wasn't pointy, your hair kind of is. So it may still create a point at the top if you,
You know
were to
who
flip it
who
up.
eats dry crackers? Klansmen.
Agreed.
100%. If there's a market for just plain crackers,
Yeah.
it's Michael and the clan. Whether those are connected,
Right.
that's not for me to
We'll
say.
leave that up
That's
there.
not
I
that's not
have
me.
heard on many occasions that clan rallies are actually catered by Saltine as a company. They actually do.
Honestly, if
cater to
there
clan
was
rallies.
something to cater to clans members, I'll give you all that one.
Yeah,
That's-
it's going to be a cracker. Yeah.
It's Saltines. Yeah, that's
Listen,
actually the origin of the
I
slur
might show
cracker.
up to a meeting just for that.
Sure, sure. You're like, I'm just here for the crackers.
I'm just here for the crackers.
I'm actually not racist, but
Y'all
God,
have-
saltines.
I'm just here for the crackers, but y'all have some ideas. You know?
They're starting to
Listen,
come around.
Not all of everything Hitler said was wrong,
Right.
right? Like there.
Right. If he had a pack of Ritz in the back of the room, Michael's on board, dude. It
I'd
wouldn't
have a
take much.
conversation. Listen, I'd have a conversation.
It wouldn't take much. Well, let's just say real quick, because this, I don't know how the fuck we got here in 6 minutes. Our guest today,
Oh yeah,
our guest today is Mr. John Murphy. Thanks for coming, John.
I appreciate y'all having
The
me.
reason he is here is because this is an intervention. We are here to try and get this
I
man
didn't-
back
I
into
didn't
comedy.
sign up for
And
that.
Michael's not, he doesn't know this, but that's what I'm here for. And here's how I'm going to go about it, because I want, real quick, Michael has a very unique, did you just mute my mic? I thought, oh, you muted yours. Okay, good.
Because he's eating a fucking
Because he's
cracker.
eating crackers. So,
Oh, we can't cuss on here, right? Okay.
fuck no. Michael has a super unique way that you know Murphy, and so do I. So I just want to say before we get started. So the way that I know you is because I've always loved comedy, but when I first found out about Blue Ridge, I took a buddy and I went. The first time we went was a comedy knockout. I watched you win. You beat Jared Hazen, very close, neck and neck. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that may be the last time you ever go on stage. It's pretty close.
It's
as a
not.
comedian.
I'll tell you about the
Okay,
last time. But
pretty close. So at some point between
It
there
was very
and
close to the end,
2-3 weeks later is when I go up for the first time. And when I start going up, you've stopped. So like we just barely missed ever being comedians at the same time. But obviously I'm very close with Travis, who's your longtime friend. And so I know
Lover
a
in the
lot. Yeah, he's what a sweetheart. Everybody knows Travis. He's been on the show 150 times. I think. He's probably on here more than Michael, honestly. But
I've missed quite a few episodes.
he's on here a bunch. And he's the man. We love Travis. But so
He's
he and I
alright.
have
I mean,
always
let's not,
right.
Let's
You're
not
right.
glaze him too hard.
Well, he's used to it, but he gets it.
Bristol's
honest.
funniest.
That's him. He loves it.
Yeah, back before anybody played. It's like an asterisk thing. It's like when you it's like baseball stats before the Puerto Ricans were allowed to come over here and throw 112
When it was still
mile slam.
segregated.
Yeah, he was facing me.
Right.
There was no one there.
Before the
all right?
Cubans were in the league,
Right.
he was hitting home.
Yeah,
but
so
right,
it's-
sure.
I'm gonna knock him down pegs all night
He's
long.
the Babe Ruth of comedy, you might say. Like pretty good when it was only the whites.
Right,
now, pretty quickly, Babe Ruth's stats did not hold up. But it's, after the '60s, not as impressive. Anyways, Travis is great, and so that's our mutual connection. And then you know him because you fucking sold him a house or
Sold him
whatever,
a whole ass house.
Yep,
which
he
is
did. Yep.
wild. The way the
Not
world
3/4 of a house, a whole one.
A whole,
Yep.
the full thing.
Yep.
Now, did you eat any crackers during the sale of the house? Was that a part of your?
Oh, I definitely did. I showed them a lot of, and I eat my lunch in between
I'm still
showings.
sweeping up crumbs from the showings.
The thought of you walking around just munching Ritz crackers.
It's really good lighting.
Yeah. Yeah, the banister's one piece, just crunch, 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 just fucking sell it out.
I do like to snack. Yeah, I don't know if you said that on or off.
Oh, you're
air.
a snack person.
You did. So yeah. No, I did.
Sold him a house.
I did. I sold Travis. Speaking of a house, him and his wife Kayla house.
Their 15th house.
Yeah.
6 months ago, I guess.
None
now.
of us can figure out.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I did a good enough job, and they referred John and your wife Alex to me, and I sold them a whole ass house, and they have become Friends.
Isn't that
like
interesting?
good friends, I would say.
Turns out that real estate actually is lucrative. Who knew?
Yeah, go figure.
Who knew
There's
that you
only
could
two
get
houses
something?
that were
I think-
sold.
And we've been glazing Travis enough, so
Yeah.
I'm going to glaze Michael for just a second, despite
Well,
the cracker thing.
good luck.
Dude.
I can't be
I
perfect.
think real estate is lucrative if you're good at it.
Yeah.
And despite all of his shortcomings, and God, the list is fucking
Emphasis
huge.
on short.
Oh yeah, short. Short's a big one
Go
on
ahead.
that list. Yeah.
He absolutely crushes as an agent. So if you are buying a house,
Yeah.
hit your boy up.
Or
for
selling.
real.
Well, there you go.
Or selling, yeah.
Selling's easier.
There's a
Just
testimony.
kidding. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, the
You
interesting
also.
thing.
Oh, I needed to. So I do want to say something about that. So John left me the nicest review I've ever been left in my life. So. I have not talked about this on the podcast, but I used to be like associated with the team. I'm no longer associated with the team. You were the last transaction I did while on the team.
Right.
And you were actually the straw that broke the camel's back. I was thinking of leaving
I
for
love
a
ruining
while.
careers, too.
I
It's
was
my
thinking of
favorite.
leaving for a while. I had a marketing team, and
Now there's some
I
pride.
sent the review that you sent me, and I was like, hey, can you put this on the graphic, do all the nice stuff, blah,
Right.
blah, 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 blah. And they're like, sure, next time tell your clients to be more concise. And I was like, fuck
Yeah,
off.
that's crazy.
Fuck
That's
off.
always been a problem of mine. That's why I never did well at open mics. I can't get concise enough.
Been there.
It just made
Been
me so
there.
mad because it was like the nicest thing that's ever been written about me. And
Yep.
they were like, be more concise.
Well, I'm a
next time."
comedian.
And I'm
good at
like,
lying, so.
Well, in
Yeah.
some areas, I've been told I finish a little too quick, and then in others, I struggle to be
Right,
concise.
that-
So it's
that-
what do you want, really?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
You know?
like, make up a mind.
Right.
Yeah.
What are you asking for?
Do you want
Yeah.
30 seconds or not at all?
Right. Exactly. Pick something because I gotta hurry.
Anyway,
So
yeah.
anyways, we know it through different channels,
do,
but
we
you're
do.
here today, and this is an intervention for sure. But we'll get into that later.
All right.
What I want to know from you is what. So typically on this show, I think with the exception of maybe one or two, everyone who's been a guest is currently doing comedy.
Yep.
But with you, I mean, as soon as Michael mentioned having you on, I thought we have to get him in here because I think it's so interesting that you did it for how long when you were doing it at Blue Ridge?
A little over a year.
Okay, so a little over a year. To me, I mean, for me, I can't imagine. I have the bug, as a lot of most
Right.
comics do. Good comics do. They have the bug. So for me, it's impossible to imagine that just goes away after a year. So I mean, I guess just walk us through because I've talked to Travis a bunch. In fact, especially in the early days, about why he thinks you stopped or why you said you stopped. But for the listener, what goes through your head when you go, I think I have to stop this.
let's put everyone
Even though
on
I love
blast.
it, because I
that's
believe that
fine.
you love it, and I believe that you were great at it. I know you were. I saw it. So to step away just feels
I
so difficult of a decision to me.
Yeah, it is and it isn't. I have spent. I mean, how long have I been out? Year and a half, 2 years now.
Right. So
That's
longer
before
than
me.
you were
Yeah.
doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Year and a half maybe.
And
I technically started 2 years ago. So
Yeah. Right there.
Yeah.
been at least 2 years.
Yeah.
Then, yeah. I've spent 2 years wondering because very much like you and like every one of us, I mean, we've all got the same story. It's not unique to any of us. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
We all grew up loving comedy, being obsessed with stand-up, really wanting to be a part of
Mm-hmm.
it. And then growing up where I grew up, there was no opportunity for something like that.
Sure.
Like you're not going to get on stage. There are no stages, right? There's like 2 gas stations and a lot of meth. That's all there is.
Yeah.
a lot of material is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
A lot of material for sure. Yeah.
So Travis was actually the one who told me that there was a comedy club coming in.
So he went up first.
Yeah, he went. So that's like one of the things that made me and him best friends since we were 12 years old is our love for stand-up.
Yeah.
That's all, like all through middle school, that's all we talked about was reciting all of our favorite stand-up bits and just constantly doing bits. That was our thing. And we'd always talked about how cool it would be to try it at some point. And, you know, we were students of the game, I guess is what you'd say. Like
Sure.
every new special that came out, we watched it, we discussed it, talked about what we liked, didn't like, you know, like really breaking it down as far as we could with what little knowledge we had.
Yeah.
And then he goes and finds that there's a comedy club coming in, decides to take this class. And I was like, I was working a different job at the time. I didn't have the availability in the afternoons. And I was like, well, that sounds cool, man. Let me know how it goes. Well, then he calls me one night and he's like, so I went up. And I thought he was just taking a class. I didn't
Yeah.
know he was going to go up.
Right.
And I was furious. I cannot tell you how mad I was. I'm like, how fucking dare you leave me?
Right.
You went up without me, you cheating whore. Like, I was so mad because that was supposed to be like a thing
Yeah.
that we had
Together.
attempted together
Sure.
at some point, and he beat me to the punch.
Right.
So,
And that's why he won the competition.
yep, he had that one extra week.
Yeah.
Motherfucker.
What an asshole.
So I decided, all right, I'm going to go try it. I didn't take the class because I didn't have I think it was Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah, it's a weird time.
It's like it's like an hour, 2 hours before the open mic.
Yeah. It's a tough coordinate.
I was working 12-hour swing shifts, so every other Wednesday I could have the evening off. So I was going every other week to open mic. I went up the first time I open mic. I'm not gloating or whatever. I crushed. It was like I did really well. It blew my mind how well it went, and instantly I was like, I'm in 100%.
Yeah.
I'm doing this forever.
Every time.
Then, and this is at no fault to anyone, I want to make sure that no one thinks that I'm pointing fingers at any individual person. It started to feel too much like church in that it was like, where were you Wednesday? Where were you Wednesday? Yep. Like if I had to work and missed an open mic, I felt bad because everyone there was like, where were you? Where were you? And I was like, I don't like that pressure.
And the day's the same, so that just added.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's true. It's a Wednesday thing. Apparently. Yeah. Well, the weird part about what you're saying, and I'm going to let you, but the weird part is that what you're talking about is not only still, I would argue it's 10 times now. That same pressure you're talking about for different reasons now.
Yeah.
But to give some defense to those who say, because I would imagine it's a lot of the same people that still do it to me, is that they obviously care about you and they think you're good at it.
Absolutely.
And they want to see
it's
you. But
all
also,
from a good place.
They want the success of the club, and at the end of the day, it's a business. And if you're not there, that's a couple more dollars and drinks that probably ain't coming in. Like there's a lot of incentives to you being there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I agree. Like it's not fair to point fingers or anything, but I know the pressure you're talking about. Now, for you, does that mean? Did you interpret that as that's pressure to always be on, always be funny? Because that can be a lot.
No, that again. I'm so worried that everything I say here is going to come across as me being like a cocky son of a bitch. But honestly,
we only get 4 listeners. It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. It's
well,
just
to
Travis.
all 4 of you.
It's just Travis.
I'm not being.
It's Travis and Joe
guy.
Bridges.
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough that my general personality, the way I act and talk and everything, was funny enough to go on stage.
Sure.
Like people enjoyed that enough to be okay with it. So I never was really on or off.
Well, some people just have that. I mean, there's some people just start out on like year 4.
Yeah.
That's just the comfort level of being on stage.
I was very comfortable on stage. I never got super nervous. I mean, you get the nerves a little bit because you're about to do so, but like I never got it real bad.
Yeah.
I was lucky for that. And most of the time I was just up there telling a story.
Right.
I mean, that's what I do is stories.
Right.
So most of the time I'd just go up and be like, here's a thing that happened.
Yeah.
And it was, don't get me wrong, there were hours and hours of prep work of filing that story down to a 5.
Of course.
All of my writing was just cutting. Like I never had to like add. I was always trying to take parts away from this super elaborate story that I told because I ramble forever, obviously. And I just would spend hours like, okay, I don't need to tell this particular part. I can just, so I was always just cutting. So luckily I didn't feel like I had to be on.
Yeah.
If anything, I felt more comfortable because I got to just tell what I was wanting to tell, and if I went a little long, people seemed to enjoy it. So,
sure. Now those stories that you're mentioning that you kind of basically show up to the game with already, are those things that have happened in your family, in your life, that you've probably been telling those stories, not obviously as in joke form, but some version for 20 years? Because I think I suffered from this, especially starting out, and I know a lot of comics that do, that you have all these things that either your family's told or maybe even you've told, and you've kind of polished it over 20 years or whatever.
Absolutely. Yeah.
As soon as those run out, that's horrifying. And I've seen so many comics do that where for weeks they're fucking cracking. And as soon as people get tired of those 5 stories you've always told, you go, well, what the fuck do I do now? I mean, was that a part of the whatever the decisions to step away was, or was it more just the pressure from other people?
No. He was ready to give everyone else a chance.
Yeah,
well, that's a huge part of it for sure. I mean,
it was most of what I did was stories. And it was polished stories that I'd worked on. My number one bit that everyone
chocolate syrup.
Yep, everyone knows that story.
Everybody.
I could not go on at Blue Ridge without someone yelling chocolate syrup.
Right.
Like they wanted to
like
hear
somebody
that
yelling Freebird.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Well, it's your machine story. It's like you can't not do it.
Exactly my bird machine story. And how that son of a bitch is still excited to tell that story. Because, dude, I did it for 6 months, and I was like, can we please with the fucking syrup, man? Like, I was over it.
I think his excitement comes from the money that he makes every time he tells that story.
Yeah.
That's true. I mean, it is my best bit. It would be my closer if I ever did an album.
Sure.
There's no doubt about it. Everyone loves it. And that was a refined, drunken bonfire, campfire story for years and years, because it's a true story. Every bit of that is true. And then I the first time I think I started questioning everything is I kind of broke my own heart with comedy, and you guys know Brian.
Yeah, we love Brian. He's been on the show.
Yes, it was a good episode. I screwed up recording that episode. It was
You did.
so fun.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Michael didn't press record when
For
Brian
20
was
minutes.
Here and missed
Yeah. Nice.
we were
First
on a
20
roll,
minutes.
dude.
We are recording now, right?
We are recording. I checked like 9 times. I did at
Yeah.
one point look. I was like, yeah, we were good.
I
Yeah.
also check about 9 times now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I decided, because I felt like in order to do this, realistically, you got to be pretty well rounded. I can't just go up and tell sex stories. Like I've got to have a something where I think about the world or whatever. So I was like, what's a belief that I have? And I started talking to myself about like the ridiculousness of how celebrities get famous nowadays and things like that. And I was listening to a podcast. I don't know if you know Penn and Teller, Penn Jillette.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, yeah.
I listened to his podcast, Penn
magicians.
Sunday School.
Is it a cool? Is it? I didn't know that was a thing. I love the
They're great.
Fool Me show.
Oh yeah,
They're awesome.
Is
yeah.
it?
Yeah. Well,
Does Teller talk on the?
well, he does if he's ever on, but
Did you know that he was capable of talking?
I know he's capable,
Okay,
but I'm just like, I know his bit is
But
like.
It's like you just told him Santa's not real. He's like,
what
He says
speaks-
words?
No, the podcast is just Pins. It's not Teller.
Oh, okay.
It's just Penn, and he's a staunch atheist. He's a skeptic, and libertarian. He's like, one of those way out there guys, and he has a podcast where he just talks about that nonsense, right? So I was listening to that podcast at work one night, and he was talking about how he had to explain to his kids who Michael Collins was. Michael Collins is the guy who stayed in the spaceship while Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin walked on the moon.
Yeah.
Okay. And he's like, that guy gets no credit. So that got me thinking. I was like, how is it that there's been 3 people at this point in history make it out of this world, right, and get to the moon, and we don't know one of them.
yeah, that's true.
But we know who fucking Kim Kardashian is.
Right.
So I wrote this pretty great bit about it, did well, and then Brian messaged me on Facebook, and he's like, hey, in no way do I think you stole this bit, but you might want to watch this bit by Norm Macdonald. And, dude, it was identical.
Oh.
And it was, like, soul-crushing because,
tough.
like, I legitimately didn't steal that bit.
Yeah.
I wrote that off of a podcast of a magician.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was so similar, and I was like, how many times is that happening across America right
Sure.
now where somebody comes up with something great and they get accused of stealing it? So, of course, I never did the bit
Constantly.
I've heard I've
Constantly.
heard another small comic do one of your jokes before. Like, no, it was
Local
in Austin or Nashville or something. It was like somebody who'd never heard it. It was your bumper sticker joke. It wasn't the exact version
Yeah.
of it. It was not the exact version of it, but
Well-
like the parallel thinking. Have you heard his bumper sticker
Sure.
joke?
again.
Yeah.
So what
it
you're
was the
talking
parallel
about-
thinking of like the same,
Yeah.
which is
Right.
much smaller scale, but just
The
yeah.
parallel thinking thing, though, and I think, especially starting out, there's a lot of almost like a guilty feeling. Like when you find that out,
Yeah.
it almost makes you sick a little bit. Where you're like, "Fuck, I probably at some point heard that,
Yeah, exactly.
internalized it, didn't remember." I mean, I went through that too. I think the bumper sticker is a common thing. Here's the problem: there's only so much shit to talk about.
Exactly.
It's
Yep.
all been covered at
Oh,
some
yeah.
point, except for things that are from your own life, and that's why most of my stuff is my family, my grandparents, your
Right.
stories.
Stories,
it's all
exactly.
safe.
Yep.
When you start to venture out, and especially in your case, when you start to try to be, and I think I suffer from this a ton, where I'm like, I don't love my comedic voice, whatever that is. My comedic voice is very boyish. It's very, oh, my dad, my mom, my baby. I would love to get up there and be a little more introspective or philosophical
Edgy.
or not even edgy, but
You want to
just
be an
informative or like
edgy comic.
give some level of like intelligence through
Yeah,
that. The
100%.
problem with that is
He
as
wants
soon
to
as
be
you
an
do that,
edgelord.
you run into exactly what you're saying, which is like somebody's touched that before, or like the one I have. So my biggest examples is on this podcast. We used to sit over there, and before there was video, I think it was Pruitt. We had an episode where I was talking about my girlfriend. They were making fun of how they've never met her, and as a joke, I just said she goes to another school. I use that in my act now, and almost every time I do it, a comic or a crowd person comes up to me and goes, "I heard another comedian say, yeah,
Oh,
no
that's
shit,
dude, that's a
Yeah.
one.
no
That's a
shit,
throwaway
dude.
one
Everybody
liner. They
has
can
said,
fuck off.
obviously
Yeah.
that's a right, and
Which is totally different than what I was experiencing.
Yeah.
right,
Because, like, I listened to the Norm bit, and I don't remember all of my bit, and I don't remember all of his bit, but, like, they went down the exact same path on both sides, where it's like,
Yeah.
he even mentioned Michael Collins as the example.
Yeah, that's like yeah.
And I was like, how is
That's
that
pretty
fucking
specific.
And
Yeah.
I don't think he mentioned Kim Kardashian by name, but he's like,
Hey, probably because it wasn't.
yeah, he's like,
thing.
no, he was like, these girls out here just getting famous because they got a big ass, and I was like, fucking, that's my two
pretty
examples.
specific.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
and it, that crushed me a little bit.
Sure.
So I was like, I worked hard on a bit from scratch because I wanted to do something that wasn't pulled from my life at all.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, I felt like everything I had done up to that point had been like, here's a cool story. I'll build on that. I wanted to take nothing and make it a thing.
Sure.
I like that.
And it sucked, like, really bad.
That
I
hurts.
was like,
That hurts.
fuck, I worked really hard on that. And it was the first one I had done like that, where it was like I just took a thought I had about the world, not something that happened to me, just a thought, and created this 5-minute. I did a whole.
Well, you kind
open
of took
mic
a
on it.
position in that situation too. You kind of take a stance, take an observation too, and that is inherently just setting yourself up for criticism or for agreeance or both. You know, like that's a hard thing to do. But I mean, also the fact that it's Brian that mentions that is funny to me, because I've had similar things with Brian, where Brian has been doing comedy 10 years before there was comedy in Bristol.
Yeah.
So I think he rightfully so finds himself in that, not necessarily mentor or like the point to give advice, but
he's like the dad, kind of.
He's kind of the dad, and particularly with mine and his age difference, he really is. Like, his daughter is my age, exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, that kind of works out, but I've spent a lot of time with Brian, and he's always very courteous to give that advice where he thinks it's necessary, and I think in that situation it is. But here's the thing, dude. The fact that you were telling these stories and crushing, I'm going to ask Michael this. How many comics do we know that have one joke or one story and they do it forever? And they just live in that world of, I'm a killer. Yep. I'm a monster. Yeah, because they're delusional.
They do a 15-minute set, and like the last 3 are funny.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. They have one in there. The fact that Murphy even had the wherewithal to go, yeah, this ain't doing it for me.
Right.
It'll do it for the crowd every time. This ain't doing it for me. I need more, dog. You're a fucking comic. Like, that right there is the mindset. And here's what I was going to get to,
why, just so we're clear, that's why Travis beat me. Is because on day 2, I refused to do my same bit again.
Yeah.
It's new audience.
Yeah.
But the same judges.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I don't.
It's a moral position.
I appreciate
I'm not going to keep recycling the same story.
Yeah, I knew that.
Well, you also don't want to be the chocolate syrup comedian.
Right,
which
I became without wanting to.
Not this comedy festival, because I didn't go to this one at all, but last year's comedy festival.
Yeah.
No. It was a knockout is what it was. It wasn't even a fucking festival. And a festival, I can give you a little grace. It was a knockout. It's a minute sets.
1 minute.
Mm-hmm. And this comic, I don't know who he is. He's not from here. He did a minute, killed.
He goes to another school.
He does go to another school. He gets back up and it was like, y'all like that one? I'm going to do it again. Do you remember that? It was
no,
it was
like
7-8 months ago.
That's what I'm talking about. So here's the grand scheme of all this conversation is, on this show, we often ask things like, what are some advice? Give us your perspective, all these things. Yep. The truth is, none of us know shit about this thing.
Yeah, of course not.
The truth is, really nobody kind of does, because it's so unique to each person. But I think in this situation, there are certain lines that I can draw, and we've both been around comedy long enough to know the difference between an open micer and a comic. And there is a difference. And I think that mindset that you had in that moment to go, I just want to do something different for me, regardless of how it turned out, and Brian calling your bluff and stuff, that is literally, that's a comic's brain, like in that moment. And so
which is why I'm so thankful that he told, like, if he had not said anything and just let me keep doing it and I found out on my own.
Yeah.
Oh, you would have been crushed.
Yeah.
That's also why he said it to you, why he felt comfortable saying it, because he knows that you are a comic.
Oh, yeah.
He knows
truly.
you didn't steal it intentionally.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, I thanked him through tears. Thanks, man. Oh, fuck.
You ruined my life, but thanks. Yeah.
Cassidy,
I'm so glad he did it.
Funny enough, Cassidy, I had a joke that was actually very similar to one of Brian's jokes.
Yeah.
And she let me know the first time she heard it. Yeah.
And that's a different thing than like putting somebody on blast or something. Like, you know the intention, you know you're not stealing something, but just
it's not like he was like, hey, you're stealing jokes. He was like, hey, the bit you did last night, I couldn't place it at the time, so I didn't say anything, but you might want to watch this bit. And like, he sent me the link.
That's like,
he didn't just be like, that's a normal bit.
She didn't send me a link, but that's kind of what she did. She was like,
just be careful.
She was like, your joke about what was it? It was about the gender reveal. She's like, your joke about the gender reveal is kind of similar to
he's got a great gender reveal bit.
Well, here's the other interesting thing that I was gonna. This is kind of why I say this is an intervention, because it's not. But we're talking about this period where you're doing comedy, Travis is doing comedy. That's right before I start. No, you're totally fine. We're gonna. I mean, I want to trace it all.
Pretty far into it.
But the jump that I think is interesting here is to go from that to then you quit, I start. Then it's 2.5 years later. I have don't tell. Things are just now, and I don't want to say it because every time I say it, I fucking regret it. But I think just now things are starting to take off for us. It's starting to do well. Knock on wood. No. Fuck that. Stop that. Stop that. That's a curse. There you go. Thank you. Things are starting to do well to the point where I just don't spend every waking day anxious about ticket sales anymore. Like there's enough of a rep, there's enough of a crowd where I can just ease off a little bit and just. I mean, I'm still fully invested. I'm trying hard. All that stuff.
Nathaniel is retiring.
We have fuck no. So I have a show at Saluna Sage. It's our biggest one yet at that time. I think it's like 67 people. It's massive.
Yeah.
And you come because it's Corey Forrester, who you love, rightfully so. He's the man. He's amazing. You come and you walk up to me and you just say something. I don't remember, something just like, "Hey man, you're doing great with this don't tell thing." In that moment, that's such a weird, like for me, such a surreal moment because I just watched you be what I was aspiring to be right before I start. You know what I'm saying? Like that moment where I'm like, that guy's fucking great. I watched you win a knockout before I ever went up. You leave, I start, and then you come up to me and compliment me is so weird. But then I was like, if you just tune up for like a couple fucking months, like a couple of open mics, you're going to be a regular with Tri-Cities Don't Tell. And there was this little glimmer in Murphy's eye that I was like, it's in there, motherfucker.
Oh, yeah.
I know it's in there.
Dude, I think about it all the time. And
right.
like,
I know you do. I
have spent the last 2 years wondering what changed mentally for me, right? And I think I finally have narrowed it down to one, the pressure, because I grew up watching the journey of, this was like early first days of YouTube. I was watching behind the scenes of comedy stuff to like figure out how these guys made it. How do you get to, I'm following like the Dave Attell's, the grungy bar comics, the New York scene versus LA, like all this stuff I'm following along to figure out. And the thing that crushed me the most and really turned me away, one was the pressure of like, I have been doing this a month and now people are expecting me to show.
Sure.
It's not like I
get that.
Get here when you can, work on your stuff. It was like, hey, I need you Friday. Yeah. And I was like, dude, I'm not that guy yet.
That's a lot. It's a lot.
And that combined with the job I was working, post the first job, I switched jobs in the middle of doing comedy because I wanted to do more comedy. Yeah. The job that I was doing was inspecting for insurance companies, but they would drop my schedule at 5:30 p.m. the night before. Yikes! So I have no idea what I'm doing the next day. Yeah. Like if I was still doing that job, I'm not now, but if I was still doing that job, I wouldn't know until 5:30 tonight what tomorrow's
and you can't commit to a show that way.
And then people, Justin and people gracious enough to ask me to come do like full sets. Sure. I'm moving beyond the open mic thing now. Yep. I'm getting asked to do weekend spots. And they're like, what are you doing April 5th? I'm like, I have fucking no idea. Dude. And that hurt me more than anything because it's like, I respect the people, the bookers, the people creating these things. I know what a pain in the ass it is to schedule that stuff. And I respect them and I respect the game of comedy too much to half-ass it.
Sure.
I'm not gonna half-heartedly go in on this and be like, I'll try to make. No, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna do it or I'm not. And I felt like I wasn't giving it. It's like I wasn't doing it service. I wasn't. The game of comedy, as cliche and douchey as that sounds, like I respect comedy too much to half-ass it.
Yeah.
And if I can't go all in, then it's better for me to just step back.
Well, I respect that
100%. And it actually kind of reminds me of Michael in that, like, there comes a time where you, as you mentioned, you're open micing, you're doing it because you love it, and then now there's this not only pressure but opportunity, which is a great thing. And in Michael's case,
opportunity is a great word for it. Actually,
well, in particular in Michael's case, I mean, the decision for him a lot of times is this thing that I love or my family, and nobody slights him for picking his family. That's clearly the correct fucking choice every time. Same with you, like your work schedule, your family, whatever it is, taking care of your life is clearly correct. But that does not get rid of that. It does, gleamer in it. It does, it's in there, man. Oh, yeah. And the thing is, like,
it nags you.
Here's the other thing.
Every time I watch a because I still go and watch shows.
Yeah.
Every time I watch a show, halfway through, I don't care if it's the worst set I've ever seen in my life. Halfway through, I'm like, I'm fucking back, baby.
Yeah, I know.
I gotta get up there. I need it. And then, an hour after the show, I'm like, Relax.
I'm hesitant to make this any sort of a sales pitch, but here's what I'll say about because what I think is really important.
Do you offer him a spot on Don't Tell right now?
No.
I'm gonna punch you in the
No, I'm
fucking
not.
face.
No, don't do that.
I'm not. He hasn't been up in 2 years.
Okay.
I'm not.
That would be irresponsible of him and I.
Yeah.
So,
But the thing I'll say, as far as the pressure and even the scheduling thing. So that scene that you're talking about, because really what that boils down to of like, when are you coming on Friday? I need you Friday. You're talking about not only being a comic, but being a part of a scene. That's totally different.
Yep.
That's a layer that open micers don't deal with.
Yep.
Now people are dependent on you, and eventually, in my case, you start running your own shit, and then there's even more. I mean, there's tons of levels to graduate through. But what I would say to that point is that now things are a little different in that not only is there a lot more shows going on locally, at least for the time being, there's a lot of stuff going on, but also, I mean, Blue Ridge has transformed into something totally different than it was at the time. For better or worse, it's different now. Don't Tell exists where it didn't before. That's a ton of opportunity. And not only just to go up, but like, I mean, I have this weekend, and this will be out Friday, so I guess spoiler alert, I don't really give a shit. I'm just gonna have to I'll bleep it in the thing. I've got Lee Kimbrell coming to headline this weekend, who opens on the road for Theo Vaughn. Literally, he's Theo's open. So like the opportunity to be in a room with that guy is something that did not exist before. And I love Sean. I love Sean, but that's not something that existed.
Yep.
He's booking a different kind of comic than I am. Yep. So having that around now changes the dynamic of the scene. And quite frankly, I have no comics locally that just come out.
Yeah.
And just hang. Whereas, like in Knoxville, Justin has a ton of that. There's guys putting up chairs, checking at the door. There's 7 comics just hanging out at every Don't Tell Knoxville show. I don't have that, mainly because they're not really around. We don't have a ton of comics anymore. Yeah. But the opportunity now is so different. Whereas, like, it's not necessarily, hey, what are you doing April 5th? It's like, dude, come by Saturday and meet the guy who opens for Theo. Like that is something that I love it or I don't love being in that position necessarily. I don't like being the guy or the part of the scene, but I love offering that, like bringing that. And I mean, even you got to talk to Corey Forrester in person, which is like, even if he headlines Blue Ridge, he's probably going to disappear into a green room or Zanies, which is
my last.
It's different.
My last thing on stage was related to that. But we'll get to that. But so the pressure, the inability to schedule safely. And then the number one thing that kind of like soured me on the whole thing, and this is probably going to sound pretty douchey too, but like getting to look behind the curtain a little bit and seeing the underbelly of how comedy actually works now versus what I thought it was growing up.
It's heartbreaking.
It does not matter how hard you grind.
Nope.
It doesn't matter how funny you are, how many people you bring to a show. It's all about how many followers you have on fucking Instagram.
Yep. Literally.
And I don't do social media.
Yeah.
So I immediately saw, I was like, this is not something I'm going to be able to pursue because all that matters is my TikTok views. Yeah. And I'm not going to shoot a TikTok. I'm just not. I'm going to go on stage and make the people sitting here laugh.
Yeah.
And that's not good enough anymore.
So that kind of leads me to, I think, the most important conversation here, which is the difference between, obviously we already talked, there's open micers and there's comics, that's true. Then there are comedians who do it because they love it and comedians who want to take it to a certain place, whatever that is. I mean, like we've mentioned 1,000 times on the show, there's comics like our friend Megan, who is like, I don't have any delusion about becoming a world famous comedian. I love getting out of the house, having a glass of wine, telling some jokes, having fun. There's different goals, there's different milestones. But like the fact that you could just say, I'm just going to go up there and fucking crush for these 70 people, and then I'm going to go home. And I'm not going to post a reel of it. But that, you can do that, but then you fight with yourself, right?
Yeah,
where you're like, but God, I need to get more more I need to grow. Because once you start scratching, brother, it's like
the business side. Yeah, the business side.
Turn it off.
The business side of it
sucks, but it's like also in 2025, the most important part.
Yeah.
It's more important than being funny.
Yeah. Which is
Matt Rife.
Yeah, right. Which is the worst. That's the thing that like, and I'm not one of those people who is like, I think comfortability is evil. You should never be comfortable.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Agreed.
Like career wise, hobby wise, where you live.
That's why Michael has a butt plug in right now. Actually,
yeah.
I was gonna make a joke about this chair
he
not
wants
being comfortable.
to never be comfortable.
Yeah,
the thing is, you get comfortable real quick.
Right, you keep having to up the size. Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot. Yeah.
And then before you know it, then there's all kinds. There's leakage problems.
Yeah, you got to just eat Ritz crackers to soak it all up.
That's the crackers.
That's the crackers.
Saltines come in handy for it too.
I just, if I ever got to a place where it's like I'm cool doing the weekly open mic to 10 people,
Sure.
I would kill myself.
See that I like,
Which is why you need to
that.
fucking do. Like this, everything you say makes me go, God. Like you just. The problem. Here's the problem.
I agree with hold on. I agree with what he's saying on, because that's kind of like, yeah, I was at that spot, and it is tough. My daughter got a little older and like noticed when I was gone, which was like not fun.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
when she was a newborn and didn't notice I was gone, it was like, okay, I'm just a shitty.
She's not
partner,
gonna know.
Right.
You know. But
Right. You can't be a shitty husband and dad.
You're a shitty person, but we don't need her to know it.
Exactly.
Right.
No, but like, I agree with that because like I was getting kind of inconsistent with like open mics, which made me then I'd get on a show and then I would not do good. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like,
it's natural. If you're going up once a month, you're gonna bomb once a month. That's just
it's like
the rule.
Well, I'm like the same as you. It's like I just don't fucking like this because like I'm not. Even at the open mics, I can't give it my all because like I'm not going up frequent enough to work out bits. So I'm like, or even do new stuff. So I'm like going to my old stuff, but it's been so long that I'm like not doing the best on the old stuff either. So it's like, it's a vicious cycle. And it's like, we've said it a million times on this podcast. Like the best thing you can do is just get on stage as much as possible. And when you can't get on stage,
you're boxed in. Yeah.
You do get boxed into like just being an open mic.
Well, dude, even when you were coming, I mean, you were checking your phone, make sure everything's all right with Livy. You're leaving early. You're not staying for everybody's set. You're like penciling it, and that's just. I mean, I also hesitate to get too woo about it. You know, whatever.
I will announce it here now. I will be returning to stand-up comedy next week.
Man, everybody's so excited.
So,
where are you going?
Mark your calendars.
Where are you going?
Because the king is back.
Oh, Jesus Christ. God, I can't wait for him to eat shit.
Oh, it's going to be so bad.
He's going to come in next week and be like, oh, fucking hate.
I'm clearing my calendar.
All new shit. I probably will be.
The king is back. You sound like another comic that we know.
That's who I'm making fun of right now.
Fuck off.
That is who I was making fun of right there.
Fuck right off.
You have to tell me who it is later.
I'll tell you who it is.
Whoever wants to see me bomb.
It's the same person who won't stop DMing me. Let's put it that way. That's the same fucking guy.
Whoever wants to see me bomb, I will most likely be at Blue Ridge on Wednesday.
Well, good.
Maybe Tuesday. I might do the Tuesday one, depending on how my schedule plays out.
Oh, they do Tuesday shows now?
Not at Blue Ridge, at
Little Magic.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I think, and please don't get overly excited. That's the thing that I think might solicit my return is the ability to do more.
Sure.
When I was first doing it, I sound like back in my day.
Back in your day.
You did walk in with a cane, so.
That's my pimp cane. That's to keep my hose in line. That ain't because I've got a limp or anything.
I respect it.
Back when I first started, there was Blue Ridge and that was it. And all props to Sean for bringing comedy to a place that had none.
Yeah.
There was no way to, and look at everything that's came. And I have to assume that at least a little bit of it, all of it, maybe, I don't know, started because he proved that it could happen here.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, like that's the reason.
I'll tell you without a doubt, I can speak only for me. There's no Don't Tell Tri-Cities without Blue Ridge Comedy Club.
Oh, yeah.
For a fact. I mean, despite whatever changes in our relationship may occur or have occurred, it does not matter. I'm only a comic because of Sean. Don't Tell only exists because I'm a comic. So it's like, the dominoes are there. But yes, there's more opportunity now, for sure.
It started getting, it started feeling weird, right?
Yeah.
Because like, I would go away for a show, not super far away, even Knoxville and was treated like a comic, right? Like, you're headlining the show.
Yeah.
You know, here's a green room, here's free drinks or whatever, and then I go back to my home club and I'm doing open mics to the same 4 comics that were there last week.
Yeah.
We're just doing it for each other. And you can't work on material to do those big shows if you don't have a small place to work it, right? Like, I can't show up on a Friday night to a sold-out theater show like
and riff.
Yeah, and figure it out, right? Like, I need to at least punch it once and see what happens. But, like, you don't know how your material is playing if the only thing you're playing to is 4 other open micers.
Right.
Yeah.
Who just want to hear you tell your fucking chocolate syrup story.
The interesting.
By chance, do you want to tell the chocolate syrup story?
Fuck no, dude. No. Don't make it.
When I was in college, got involved with the Russian mafia.
So here,
your shirt's still on.
Out of full respect to Sean and the scene and everybody, I think a lot of this conversation, I'm very open to you and I having more off mic. But right now, what I will say about that is that there are places within our very small, very struggling still to grow scene that would still have that same feel for you. in that I think you would return and you would be, fuck, it's kind of still, I've heard certain things described as more of an AA meeting around here, in that you go up, you share, there's some claps, you sit down. And
Bro, that is the best description.
Honestly, I've never heard it described as that, and honestly,
well, I'll tell you off mic who said it, because it's a, agreed. And so that still exists very much so, but what also
I mean, that's part of, I understand, that's part of the open mic everywhere.
It
is.
That's
that's what you're going to deal with at
especially
an open mic.
in a scene as small, because he mentioned Little Magic. I mean, if you include Asheville, Knoxville, not really Nashville, but
can you include Asheville right now, though?
Well, it's kind of washed away, but I mean, they have some stuff. Including those two, you could do 4 mics a week and weekend shows.
Yeah.
But you got to be hustling, man.
Put some miles on your car.
You got to be putting miles on it. And so, but the thing about that is there's only really maybe, being completely generous, there's 5 comics in our scene that hustle.
Yeah.
5. Realistically, there's 2, but we'll say there's 5 just for argument's sake. That hustle in the fact of they're doing more than just their home club. They're doing more than just one open mic a week. They're actually traveling. They're actually booking things. I mean, it does exist now, but I think, and I'm hesitant to go here because it starts to sound like some narcissism. I think that Don't Tell is a major change for the scene, because not only am I bringing headliners that Sean doesn't. The format that I've created is based off of Justin's model for Knoxville. Seems to be working. That motherfucker's selling out 200 seats every weekend.
Yeah, that's
Nashville is the same way. He copied Amber Autry's model from Nashville. It works, man. It's a showcase. Like this weekend, I have 6 comics featuring and a 20-minute headliner. That's different than a club, because at a club, if you're not the headliner, you're hoping for 1 feature spot every weekend or 1 host spot every. There's 2 spots to go around. I've got 6 a week.
Yeah.
You know, like the opportunity is a little different now.
Yeah.
Now, my shows are not in a club. There may not be as much networking opportunity. I would actually argue there's more, but depending on how you look at it, it is different. I just think that as the scene has transformed, I think there's a lot more room for anybody who says things like, yeah, man, one of these days, like just the fact that it's still in there at all tells me that as much as you need comedy, this fucking scene needs you, dog. Like there's a lot of open micers around here. There's not a lot of comics. There's a difference.
Oh yeah, I agree.
There's a difference, and I mean, Michael's been around long enough to know. And obviously, we don't want to point fingers or name anybody, especially not on Mike. But
let's name them.
I'll fucking name
alphabetically.
Them, I'll go there. I'll ruin this whole show, dude.
Let me pull up Facebook real quick. Just go through my friends list.
This will be talking shit next week, dude. I'll say whatever you want.
All right, let's do it.
We'll go crazy. No, I think the most important thing for me in this conversation that stands out is that you have that in you still, like that piece of you where you're like, I do love it. I just A, B, C, D. And I think that A, B, C, D are always going to be there. Like there's so many fucking hurdles. And because you're still close with Travis, I assume he shares all of his progress with you. And from the time that you quit to now, Travis is just rocket ship. Like what he's managed to achieve in such a short time is so admirable. I look up to that dude. Even though he's probably my closest friend in comedy, he's kind of like a mentor too. He's both.
What?
Yeah, well, fuck you. But well, if you're doing comedy, maybe Travis is
not the one I meant to do.
Fuck. Travis is an important part of the scene too, in that people look to him, whether it's jealousy or envy or whatever you want to call it, they watch and they see what he does, and he handles it in such a weird way. But I'm sure he would tell you the same thing. There's probably 75 reasons why he wants to quit all the time.
Oh, yeah.
He just doesn't. You know, like, and just whatever that is, I think it's just the bug. I think we're just ADHD to the max and can't quit
like
once we start. Like,
see, I blame my ADHD for the reason I quit a lot.
Yeah, because you can't give it your all.
Well, my specific form of ADHD, whatever it is a game of just completing a task and moving on.
Yeah.
So, like, once I have done anything to a reason, jack of all trades, master of none is the story of my life. Like, once I can do something pretty well, I've beat it and I'm on to the next thing. I'm instantly bored with it. And for whatever reason, because the scene was so small and no one had ever seen a comic go up around here and do stand-up comedy in the Tri-Cities, I got to go up from day one and crush pretty hard.
Yeah.
It was like a meteoric.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
I went from had never stepped on stage to within a couple of weeks, people were approaching me and telling me I was the reason they were there. Yeah. I'm like, that's fucking insane, dude.
Well,
that's years down the road for comics. That's not supposed to happen right now.
It is a weird, like, petri dish situation
like
where you can
town.
grow it so fast. Well, Travis has said a bunch of times, even on this show, that he kind of suffers from this thing too, where he became, Blue Ridge's funniest, whatever, and he was
like a month
branded
in, right?
with that. Yeah, 3 months I think. Branded with that almost immediately, and that's honestly more. I personally think that's more of a curse,
absolutely,
than it is a blessing, because now he's never going to live up to that credit, even though that credit is not really carrying a lot of weight. It does for people who don't. No, like you just hear, this motherfucker won a festival 3 months in. What is he, Dave Chappelle? Like, that's a lot of pressure, dude.
Exactly,
and he still gets brought up to, this guy won the first ever Blu-ray, and he hates it. Dude. It's such a weird credit.
Yeah. Well, our first show in, where was it? Central Cinema.
Yeah, Knoxville, yeah.
Yep.
Great
Our
one.
first show, that was like the first show we did away from Blue Ridge.
Was it a Don't Tell?
No.
Just a show.
Just a Central Cinema weekend show or whatever.
I'd love to see
still
you
do
and Travis roast each other. Anyway,
We
they
have.
also do that at Central Cinema. Yeah,
They've been doing that for 30 years.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
It gets way too personal is the problem. Like we start talking about ultra specific thing from our childhood. It's like, well, yeah, you can't even jump in a truck without busting your head on a log, you fat fuck. Yeah. And they're like, what are you talking about?
And they're
dude?
like,
Speaking of, hey, while we're here for a second, Travis and I spent about 4 hours in the car the other night together, and Kayla just traveling, and I told him you were coming on, so he filled me with some things. What I'd like to know is, how many porches did you have on your trailer as a kid?
God.
How many? Because that's one of the things. That's one of the many things that Travis told me to ask you.
porches did you have?
Listen,
He described it as more porches than trailer, which is
it's not wrong.
which is very specific.
Not wrong. All right, first of all, I want to say it wasn't my trailer. All right.
Did you live there?
There was also something about like an uncle
In the trailer?
Little ownership there if you lived in it.
In the trailer?
Yeah.
I did not.
on a porch.
Okay.
No,
live
he
on the
lived.
porch?
I know the answer to this. He lived in a shed nearby that he and Travis built that had I believe, a PVC pipe in the wall that he called the piss tube that he pissed into that led out the wall. Dude, I know everything
you
about
have
this
no
motherfucker.
idea.
How'd you poop? Where'd you poop at?
I went in the trailer. It was my
So
grandma's.
There's a little ownership to the porch situation.
I mean, I
then.
built the motherfucker.
Oh,
so
there's a lot of fucking ownership on the porch
How
situation.
many
then.
porches on a single wide?
Ah, God.
Was it
Give
a
me
single
second.
one?
Because four
Yeah,
is
dude,
too.
come on. You know so little about how absolute trash I am.
Ooh,
You
the
don't
white
even-
trash bit. We need to do it. Okay.
I'm so trash, dude.
Could you
Anyway,
maybe give us one thing? that
Well,
you
we
think is
need to
the
know
most,
the porch. We need to know the
Yeah,
porch.
yeah.
Just-
all right,
Hold
give me
on.
just a second.
I'm getting excited.
1,
Yeah.
2, 3, 4,
Jesus
5,
Christ.
6, 7.
Two is too many.
7 decks.
I think that's more porches than I've ever been on.
7 separate decks. And 3 porches that became enclosed subsequently. So, like, we built a porch, enclosed it, built a new porch.
Sure.
And we enclosed it, built a new porch.
Just like addition, like further away.
It's literally like from an
Well,
aerial
down
view,
the
it
side.
probably looked like Tetris. It looked like they kept fucking
So
stacking
like,
them.
so like this is the like my laptop here is like the trailer, right?
Yeah,
And then this is like porch number one.
Right. So we built a porch right here.
build an
right?
addition.
And
Okay.
because I come from a long line of trash, it was a lot of like Marlboro smoking going on here.
Sure.
Yeah.
Respect it.
So
Yeah,
Yeah.
this became the smoke
Reds
room.
or
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Reds, yeah.
What, do I look like a pussy?
my parents smoked silvers and golds.
He's not a billionaire.
Come on.
Yeah, come on, dude.
So cigarettes
Cowboy
here,
killers. I love
They
them.
smoke it up, right?
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
it's like it's cold because winter's coming.
It does get cold.
We're not going to stop smoking,
right.
Yeah.
but we can't smoke in the house. So we're just
You're
going to
not,
make this.
you're not that level of trash then.
We're going to. Well, my little sister had asthma and it would have killed her.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fair. You're,
Because my mom smoked. But so this became the enclosed smoke room.
okay.
Right.
Keeping in mind, no door. Right. So the smoke is not like there's not.
Right.
Is this the only exit? Like this is your exit too? So,
Well, there's 2 doors.
but your sister assumably is going out this door.
Every day. Yeah.
It's very specific to smoke. You remember when
Really?
restaurants were like smoking or non, but smoke doesn't work that way, so
Yeah.
it was all smoking? It's kind of like that.
Yeah. That's what their thought was like. Well, this is the room we smoke, so it
Right.
won't get in the rest of the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she has to walk through the smoke room every day. Okay.
So they
Her
they
bedroom is
enclosed-
non-smoking.
So they enclosed that porch during the winter, right? Right
Okay.
before winter, it's like it's getting cold. We're gonna enclose this thing. Well, springtime's right around the corner. We got to have another outside smoke spot, right?
Right.
So we're gonna build another porch.
You don't want to be inside when it's nice out.
Exactly.
Build
we
a porch.
Build a new porch.
yeah.
Well, that becomes the new smoke room, and
It's
this
kinda
becomes
Amish,
the extra
honestly.
dining room or whatever.
Yeah.
So it just kept migrating. But the problem was my grandma was obsessed with decks, but we were poor, so we didn't. I'm going to pull up an aerial view of this.
I love it so much. Travis told me this in the car, and I was crying laughing. He also told me that there was a substantial amount of family members living under this one roof. I don't remember exactly what the number was, but it was shocking. And that there was one in particular who coughed so much that he stopped coughing and resulted to just making sort of a
Rip Bud. What's up, Uncle Bud? What's up, buddy?
Yeah, Bud, that was his name. Yeah. What? Travis
What
was doing
happened
the
to Bud?
noise.
Okay, so we'll do it.
Right.
These are like normal trailers. This is all in a trailer
Right,
park.
right,
And
familiar.
then here's the monstrosity we built. See, it goes all the way down through here, around through here, and then that little shed right there that me and Travis built, that's where I lived for a year.
For anyone just listening, I'll try my best to describe. Imagine a trailer, and then if you did some weird game of Tetris from the air where you stack things, but they didn't quite
I
line
got a
up.
better one. You have two long things in Tetris,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah,
one of
yeah.
them you laid it flat, and then the other one you tried to lay it flat right on it, but you like sneezed, and so
Right.
you just
It's
went one
offset.
over.
When you accidentally hit the move button,
You
on
went two
Tetris.
over
and if
on
you did
accident.
that
So-
6 times,
It was like a regular single wide trailer. This first bigger square was the first smoke room. It got enclosed.
Yeah.
Then this one became the new smoke room, and it got enclosed. So then we started building decks, and this is a deck, and this is a separate deck back here, and then this is a deck. That's where we kept the pool. And then this
that's a
was
great place for it.
Above ground.
my house.
Right
And-
there on the road.
Yeah, dude, the road's right there.
Right on the road. This is amazing, dude.
Yeah.
Travis, I'm
That's
telling
the cool
you, dude,
stuff,
I
yeah.
feel like I got the inside scoop. Yeah. Travis told me all kinds of fun stuff. Him and Kayla were cracking me up. I got to hear about I got to hear about Travis and Kayla's first date, which he was there for some reason. Travis
You got to
brought
take a
him.
friend with you.
Well, he was there to deflect something.
Yeah, I was landing on grenades.
Yeah.
I've been there.
He's a good friend.
Yeah.
Dude. He's a good friend.
Have you ever
I'm
been
a
a good
great
friend?
No, I didn't have any friends growing up.
Yeah.
Friend?
I went to the movies.
I actually just
went to
was
the
the
movies.
grenade.
I went to the movies one time with my buddy who was on a date, and she brought a friend, and it was
How was the friend on a scale of 1 to 10?
personality or
No. You know I wasn't asking about her
it was
personality.
the reason I bring up personality because it was about a 3 all around. Like,
It actually,
Yeah.
second thought, it doesn't matter. 3.
Right.
yeah,
Is the
yeah,
answer.
yeah,
Sometimes you just got to
Rude.
take care of the threes, man.
yeah. So
Three- Threes
Gotta jump
need
on a
love,
grenade
too.
every once in a while.
Threes need love too.
yeah, that was
Got to
more
play
of a,
deflection.
Don't be rude.
you know. I got a purple heart
That's
after that one.
amazing. Yeah.
Anyway, what's the widest? So we have this game on here. If you've ever listened to the podcast, have you ever listened to the podcast?
Yeah.
Have you really? Okay.
I've listened
Well
to probably 4 or 5 episodes of it.
Have you
I'm
heard
not
Travis
like
is
an
on?
avid listener. I apologize.
Have you heard us ask each other what's the widest trash thing about ourselves?
No.
Well, each time we bring it up, I somehow dig deep and find something I'd totally forgotten about, and he's always amazed at how ridiculous it gets.
Sometimes we each have some bad ones.
We have a whole episode.
I
Shout out
have
to
one.
Moon Pie and Rusty.
Moon
our
Pie
favorite
and
episode
Rusty,
where we
yes.
just white trash one upped each other for an hour.
I thought of
Nice.
another. I'll start it off. Okay. One
sure.
time when I was about 12 or 13,
Yeah.
we had this shed out back. Nobody lived in it. Sorry to disappoint, but we did have a shed out back.
Did it have a piss tube?
No.
Then it ain't a real shed.
It's
brother.
not. You're
Go
right.
ahead.
They're super easy to build. I'll walk you through it.
Cool. The shed is still there. It's at my parents' house.
Go ahead.
In our double wide.
Damn.
Anyway.
Baller.
Too proud.
So,
yeah, quit flexing on us.
So we had the shed, and then like it was kind of hard to mow back there because we had a tree fence, as most poor people do.
Sure.
Have tree fences.
Yeah.
So
Love them.
You sold me my house. I have a tree fence now, asshole.
It's pretty bad when your realtor's like, shitty houses.
With tree fences, like the one I just sold you for an exorbitant amount of money.
You know when you really fool somebody into buying a piece of shit house? Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you for the skin, by the way.
Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
you're welcome.
Yeah.
You're
Go
welcome.
ahead.
So anyway, we had this like patch of grass back there, but it was like hard to mow, so it kind of got up. And we went back there one day. I went back there, and there was a hornet's nest. And I was like, "Hey,
Sure.
Dad, there's a hornet's nest back here." And he's like, "This is what we're gonna do." Gets a can of gasoline, pours it on there. I climb up on the shed because I'm 12,
Yeah.
and that's what you do. My dad lights a match, throws it in there, explodes.
Yeah.
That's the whole story.
See, every
Pretty
time
white trash
he
thing.
shares something he thinks is white trash, I go, "That's just a Tuesday."
I was
bro."
getting ready to say
Pretty
that.
white
So
trash.
That's literally
that
just
was
a Tuesday.
Okay.
He,
That's something that I do.
One time my
In the
dad put a
afternoon.
cigarette out on my face. Is that what? No, I'm just kidding. He didn't do that. But is that white trash
that's
enough
more
for
a
you?
sign of love. Actually, I think that's affection.
Oh, so he talked to you. Must
Yeah.
be nice.
Oh, you know
was
your
present.
dad. What's that like?
He was present.
Oh, you know your dad.
Oh.
Quit bragging. God, double wide dad. Quit throwing out these buzzwords, asshole. Quit rubbing
You know
it
he
in.
just left therapy, dick.
Yeah, dude. Literally.
This is true.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, we both sharing some white trash stuff, but I mean, I know the area that you and Travis grew up in. I have family who are from there.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah. So my grandpa was born in Pocahontas.
Oh shit!
Grew up out there. I have some Bluefield. I have some Tazewell. I have all that stuff. So I know. I mean, I know a little about the Russell County line, brother. Shout out to 49 Winchester. I know some shit about up there.
What is the most white trash thing?
Oh my god, dude!
If you had to pick one,
narrow it down to one.
I have one other I can share in the meantime.
He's like, let me think on the last week.
While you're thinking about it, I have one other. One time we went on vacation.
Oh god!
We let my grandfather watch our dog while we were on vacation.
Yeah.
And we got back from vacation. He told us that our dog was a Pomeranian, very nice dog, right? He watched it, and we got back. Dog wasn't there. 3-4 years later, we found out he sold it for alcohol. So
You'll have that.
I think that's pretty white trash.
That's what you get for having a fancy dog.
Agreed.
We got it from the pound. We got it from the pound for $50, so it wasn't like we.
Okay.
You get it out of a gutter for free.
Right.
Nobody buys that shit.
Adopt, don't shop. That's what I.
That wasn't adoption. You have to pay the neuter fee.
Not if you pick it up out of a gutter.
Right.
Okay.
Not if you want to have way too many puppies living under your trailer.
One of our cats came out of a truck.
Move.
Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah.
God, dude. I mean, the list is literally endless.
The porches are up there, dude.
No, that's
7
not.
porches is
that's up there, dude.
7 porches
all right.
is a lot.
Respectfully, the
You
only
probably
thing to
never
make that worse if you said like one of them was your meth making porch. You know, like,
No, we did run a batch of moonshine.
I've heard that story too.
that's
Yeah.
cool.
I heard that in the car. And I've heard it was awful. Travis said it was terrible.
It wasn't. I mean, it got you drunk.
He just said, he was like, we were
Did
so
his job.
excited for it. And then we tried it and we were like, this sucks.
Yeah, dude, it was not.
Sucks.
But that largest deck, that's where we ran that. She had like one of those gazebo tent things.
Wow.
Pull the curtains, fire up the steel, baby. Let's get it going.
That's crazy.
Gosh.
Man.
Yeah. I mean, that's not even. That's shit I forgot. Like that.
That's like the best part of it. You know, when you start forgetting it.
I did do a bit for a little while. It was pretty white trash. To give you an idea of some of my family.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard my felony bit. Did you guys
No,
ever
I
hear
don't
that?
remember.
felony?
I don't remember.
I committed my first felony when I was 8 years old.
Oh.
I
didn't
committed-
background check you.
Yeah.
I background check most of my clients. I didn't
say-
background check you. So
The bit always started. I committed my first felony when I was 8 years old. Sounds a lot like Burt Kreischer, right? It's like,
Yeah.
I say committed, not convicted, because them bitches never caught my little ass.
oh, good.
Yeah, but no. So my grandpa worked in the mines, as everyone did there.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I think you did tell me this story, but I think. Go ahead. Sorry.
He cashed in early retirement like 5 years before he was supposed to get his pension for like half of what it would have been worth if he'd finished staying, and decided he was going to open a bait and tackle / pawn shop. Right. Sure. Because, white trash American
That's
dream.
what the community needs. You
Yeah.
know, sometimes, yeah.
And he actually made a fortune in that little shop selling rugs, like scatter rugs.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
like little old ladies. They fucking frequented that concrete shack by the river
That's true.
to buy just rugs.
Old
And
ladies like rugs.
he found some
I like
guy
a
in
rug.
North Carolina who worked at a rug factory and would just steal them and sell them to him
Sure.
for like really cheap.
Yeah.
And he'd come home and sell them to all
Fell
the
off a truck.
grandmas and aunties. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like, it's a concrete shack. So like, this is the shack your laptop is. He's got like this counter right here, and it's got like, some fishing rods here and there. And then all of this is rugs.
Right.
It's a rug emporium, right?
Right.
But everybody goes in there and pawns off video games and shit like that so that they can buy their meth and their cigarettes and all that shit.
Yeah.
So I grew up-
addictions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I grew up just hanging out in the bait shop. We called it the bait shop, even though he sold very little. I mean, he did sell minnows and crawdads and stuff like that, but or minnows as they were called properly.
I was going to fact check, but you got it. Yeah.
Yeah. The problem was he also sold guns. He didn't have an FFL license. He just sold guns.
Please.
People come in, pawn a gun. Yeah. He sells it. Well,
What am I
because
supposed to do with it? Yeah, I got it. I'm going to get rid of it. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
the entire behind his counter was just a gun rack, and it was fucking full.
Yeah.
Like so many guns. And because it was the only place in town to buy a gun, everyone bought and sold guns there. Well, it became such a big deal that the FFA heard about this little pawn shop in the middle of Nowhereville that is selling just a shit ton of guns,
Yeah.
right? So I'm at my dad's house because my dad's trailer, and then his sister's trailer is right down the hill, and then my grandpa's at the bottom. So we're just trailer babying it.
It's
up
a
and down
family
there.
affair.
Yeah, we're just
Whole
out
time.
chasing goats and fighting and doing what 8-year-old kids do.
Living, brother. Yeah.
Having a good time.
LIVI.
Is there any other way? Yeah.
Dad comes flying up the hill, gravel driveway.
You didn't
Typical
have to specify.
redneck. Yeah. Typical redneck fashion, sideways. Just.
Yeah.
He's like, boys, get in the truck. Grandpa's going to prison if we don't get to the bait shop pretty damn quick. So we jump in the truck and we go, and come to find out, chief of police, whose wife was big rug customer. A lot of rugs going in and out there.
Sure.
She forces the chief of police to give us a tip. FFA is on their way.
Oh, wow.
And it's not like one of those, like, we're going to go by and check some paperwork. Dude, they're bringing the black SUVs, the vests, ARs, shit this little town has never seen.
Yeah.
So he calls my grandpa and he's like, hey, you got like 20 minutes. Get them out now. So me, my dad, my cousin, who's the same age as me, are just assembly lining guns out of this bait shop as fast as our little fucking arms will go. And we're just filling up my dad's Chevy S10 truck bed. And it's just layer of guns, layer of rugs, layer of guns, layer of We're making a fucking gun rug lasagna in the back of this fucking truck. And my dad was a mechanic because, white trash.
Right.
And
That's one of the 3 jobs.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
Because he didn't want to sell rugs. That's right.
he didn't want to, he wasn't following the family name. I could be on a rug mountain right now.
Yeah. That's
Dad
true.
gave up on the family business.
That's true, dude.
But we fill up his truck. The truck's like squatted. It's so full of guns. He takes it over to the body shop where he works, puts it on the lift, and jacks it up in the air. Nobody's going to look in the bed of a truck up in the air.
Good call, dude.
Pretty smart.
I respect that. That was
Pretty smart.
Rednecks will surprise you sometimes.
And I'll never forget, this was also part of my bit. I'll never forget, I had one of those real movie moments with my dad. He grabs me by the shoulders right before he peels out in this fucking two-wheel drive shitty S10 with rust all over it. He's like, listen, son, if they ask, you ain't seen me all day. See you on the other side. He just jumps in the truck, takes off. Like, that's my fucking daddy.
Oh.
Woo!
Pretty cool. Also, you're how old at this time?
8.
8. Okay,
Yeah.
right.
I was 8.
Some would say the formative years. Yeah. When you remember what's going on.
Yeah.
Pretty
Oh,
well.
yeah.
really shaped who you are today. So what happened to your grandpa? Did he
So this is the end of the bit and the end of the very true story. FFA comes flying into the parking lot. It's this little concrete shack over the hill. There's a railroad track. Down the hill is the shack, and then below it's the river, right? They've blocked from the river to the railroad tracks. 6 black SUVs. They all jump out, guns drawn, bulletproof vests. And there's just 2 dirty 8-year-old trailer babies standing in the parking lot, just high-fiving. Yeah, fuck them, yeah. We were so pumped, dude, because we knew we won, right?
Yeah.
This was before there was evidence.
Right.
This is 90s. So
Yeah.
there's no, they're not gonna doing a
go
super,
knock on doors and be like, did you buy a gun? Yeah.
So they go in, and my grandpa is just sitting behind the counter like fucking Al Capone, dude. Like a trailer Al Capone,
Yeah.
He's just sitting back on his stool, and there's just an empty gun wall. You can see the dust line where guns were. It's so obvious this was just a giant gun rack, and it's empty. And that's the only thing they had. They were like, so if you're not selling firearms out of here, what's this rack? And like a fucking baller, my grandpa's like, boys, you're in a bait shop. That's for fishing rods. We're just low on inventory.
Yeah.
That's fucking gangster as
hell
shit.
yeah.
Good call, dude.
So he continued to sell the guns, but from home.
Right.
Oh, safer.
Very smart.
Yeah,
Very
safer.
smart.
All the people who want to sell their gun for their latest batch of pain pills, come to my personal address.
Right.
We'll do business there.
Yeah.
He takes them up in the lift. He's like, they're up here.
I love it.
Yeah, pretty cool, dude. Pretty cool, man.
So that was,
that's got to be up. That's
I think
pretty
he beat
trashy.
us.
a bait rug
I
gun
think he
shop
beat
would
us.
have to be right up there. Yeah.
I think he beat us.
Yeah, most
Grandpa
of our
was a
stuff
G,
was not
man.
bad.
He was insane.
Aren't
he
they
made so
always?
much money.
God, I
just
can't
off
wait
of
to be
shit.
one.
And was absolutely ruthless. Could not give a shit who I was. He if I went in there to buy some hooks because I was going fishing, he charged me and tax for every pack of hook. He wasn't going to give me shit, dude.
Good call.
Me and my cousin went down to the river and caught some frogs and tadpoles, which are phenomenal smallmouth bait. I don't know how trashy y'all get if you fish or whatever, but
Yeah, I'm out there.
tadpoles are like smallmouth candy. Super illegal to catch them and use them as bait. But
Are they really?
oh yeah.
Well, that's a law I've broken a time or two.
Yeah, you're not at least you're not supposed to sell them, right? So we get like one of his little aquariums that somebody pawned for a pain pill. Fill it up with water. Fill it up with tadpoles. We've got some full size frogs in there. Guys come in and we're selling tadpoles like crazy, dude. We sold out in like no time. And we were selling them like really expensive.
Kids have a lemonade stand.
We sold tadpoles. Yeah, that's true. That's like
This motherfucker's on the side of the road with a sign that says tadpoles.
I mean, it's good bait.
That guy's an entrepreneur. Like, we're gonna read like
They're
a New
all
York.
fresh squeezed, bro. They're all fresh.
We're gonna read like a 40 under 40 about John. And it's like, I got my start selling tadpoles.
So from my illegal gun shop grandpa's parking lot. Well, here's how much of a like businessman this guy was. So we sold in front of his store. We had a little tank set up. We'd sell tadpoles and they'd go in. Well, his minnow sales were down that day because we were selling fuck out tadpoles right out from under him. And he came out and he's like, well, boys, you doing any good today? And we'd made like $60, which is a lot of money for a couple of 8-year-olds selling tadpoles.
In the 90s, too.
Dude. Yeah.
That's like a millionaire.
Yeah.
And he goes, you made $30. And I said, how did we make $30? He said, you leased out my parking lot. He took $30 of our 8-year-old money.
I like Grandpa.
And put it in his cash register. I'm like,
it.
dude, we busted our ass to catch these tadpoles. He's like, yeah, but you didn't have nowhere to sell them. So I consider you leasing my parking lot. We'll do a 50-50 split. I'm feeling generous. So
I respect. Yeah, I like
Gotta pay
him.
rent. That's true. He could have just took the whole thing. He could.
Go back, you're here illegally.
Yeah.
Like, this is mine.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah,
like,
I
I'll
like
call
that.
the FAA on your ass.
No, you
Yeah.
There's a history. You ain't calling shit.
They're not
Papa. Come
snooping
on,
around
man.
here. Yeah.
Damn.
Well, I want to know real quick too before we kind of start to wrap things up, because I think I know the
How
answer.
long have we been going?
A little over an hour.
Hour 10.
Hour 10.
What? So normally when we have comics in here, we ask what are some of your comedic influences, and I think my favorite part of that is a lot of times I can see that in them. Like our Nashville episode, our long lost Nashville episode, finally just released, and my friend Justin mentioned a very specific Roy D. Mercer. I don't know if you know this dude.
Yeah, bro.
Of course you do. Of course you probably don't know who this is.
Oh, yeah.
How big a boy are you?
Yeah, how big? I'll whoop
I
your
know
ass.
who it is.
I'm about to come down there and pour a
Do you
55
really?
gallon drum of whoop ass
Do
all
you
over
really?
you. I tell you that
You're
right
being no, you're lying.
I don't know.
You're lying. He
You'll
doesn't
never
know.
know.
Roy D. Mercer is like they used to sell these CDs of his prank calls. It was a radio show at one time, I think.
Oh,
But
I actually do.
usually
Yeah,
in
yeah,
truck
yeah.
stops
Yeah,
is where
yeah,
you
yeah.
would find the CDs. And so
good.
when
dude.
Justin said that though, I went, "Holy fuck, dude!" Not that he's ever said how big a boy are or anything, but like there's just a piece of that I see in him. So with you, I mean, it's kind of we don't ever see you go up anymore, so it's hard to tell. But like you mentioned being a student of the game and loving comedy. Who are like some of those that stand out to you?
It's a pretty
kid?
eclectic.
Kreischer?
No.
Well, it's a long time before.
I
Yeah.
know, I'm just kidding.
It's a pretty wide group actually.
Me too.
I'd say my first experience with comedy was someone you've never heard of, Jerry Clower.
Oh, I know Jerry. Yeah, I know
No,
Jerry. I know
dude.
Jerry Clower because Theo Vaughn always talks about Jerry Clower. That's how
Dude,
I know him. Yeah.
Jerry Clower, like
I actually have a little Jerry Clower little cassette that I got the other night from my grandpa's stuff. I go through his stuff every now and then. He passed away, and I'll go find stuff. And I found Eddie Murphy's first hour and a Jerry Clower hour.
Oh, that's cool.
on tape. Yeah.
dude, Jerry Clower is like Jerry Clower opened my eyes to the world that you could get paid to just be funny.
He's also like a very quintessential Southern comic. You know, like
Storyteller.
Like I would
He
imagine
doesn't have
Ron
it-
White even talks about Jerry Clower. Like,
Oh
that's,
yeah, well
that's
he's
the lineage.
the weird thing about Clower and the reason that probably my biggest influence on what I do on stage, which is not a great ad for myself here, but he doesn't really do jokes. He just tells a story.
Stories, sure.
But he's just funny.
Yeah.
Like the way he tells the story. There's no bits,
Some of the best things to ever emerge from comedy of all time are not bits or story. Like Tater Salad is like everybody knows that fucking Ron White.
Right.
That's not really a joke. It's just a story.
Exactly, yeah. And Jerry Clower was a lot like that.
Yeah.
But then when my first comedy, because I don't consider Jerry Clower a comedian. He's a storyteller.
Sure.
He's one of the old Appalachian.
Old school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like just a good storyteller. But first comic that I ever like became obsessed with was, of course, Jeff Foxworthy. Which of us around here wasn't obsessed with Jeff Foxworthy?
Right.
His first 2 albums, I could probably still do word for word.
Well, those blue collar guys are a pretty common answer for us because I mean, most of the comics we interview grew up around here, Nashville or somewhere in the South.
It's weird the transition because I remember when blue collar first came out, it was a big thing for me and Travis to talk about. This blue collar, and I remember thinking like the best was Larry the Cable Guy. Because I was young.
That's what I was going to ask, because I feel everybody brings them up and everybody has a different favorite or one that stuck out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the absolute best comic on that, just true blue comic, it's a toss-up between probably Foxworthy and Ron White.
I think it's Ron. For me, it's Ron. For sure. Were you allowed to watch Ron, though? Because that's we've had other comics on the show that had the same story. But for me, we would watch Blue Collar as a family, but when Ron came out, they'd turn it off.
Oh, no.
And I always went, I want to know what he's saying.
No.
And then turns out, of course, he's my favorite.
My first comedy DVD, my mom bought for me, it was Chris Rock, Bigger and Blacker.
Oh, so good.
Dude.
So
How old were you?
Changed my life. I don't know, whatever year it came out. It was new.
I can double check.
Up.
Let's say you guess roughly.
I want to say 2001.
See, I was off. I was thinking like maybe 5.
Speaking of Larry the Cable Guy, just watched all 3 Cars movies with my daughter.
With Toe Mater?
That transition is both my favorite and least favorite thing you've ever done. I somehow have more and less respect for you after that transition.
Speaking of Larry the Cable Guy, have you seen his work?
Am I right?
Have you seen his work in the automotive industry? It's
Are you familiar with Toe Mater?
Yeah. I loved him.
Here's the thing. Cars 1 and 3, great. Cars
3's
2,
not bad, dude.
Cars 2 not that good.
I don't think I saw 2 or 3.
We don't even talk
2
about
sucked.
2. 2's so bad.
Yeah,
Really?
3 was really good. 3 was cute.
99, Bigger and Blacker.
Oh,
99.
a little earlier.
Yeah.
So
I
I
was
was
way off.
I was 9.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
It's a good age, dude.
Yeah, dude.
It's
And
good age.
I burnt that DVD up. Just
Now,
watching
did
it over and
everybody in your life expose you to that? Like, was there anybody against you? Because another common thing for us is there's always usually one or the other parent or an older sibling or something who's a little more restrictive. Like for me, I would go to dad's and I would listen to Def Jam, and then I'd go back and I'd get in trouble at home at mom's for quoting. Was that ever a part of your life, or was it just wide open?
It was pretty much wide open.
Yeah.
Mom was. I lived with my mom. My parents were divorced because, of course, they were.
Sure.
And I lived with mom full time, and she was pretty open to letting me. She always made it a point to let me know when it was wrong.
Right.
Like,
right.
Which I'm never going to have kids, but if I ever did, I would probably try to parent as close to the way my mom did, because it worked out really good for me. Like, I could watch or listen to anything.
Yeah.
But she made sure to let me know, like, you don't talk like that. Right.
Or there's a time and a place, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Well,
I'll say on the restrictive conversation, too, it didn't work out well. And
yeah, of course not. Yeah.
If you turn the TV off when Ron comes on, I'm going to find out what that motherfucker
I'm just
is.
gonna,
Because you don't want me to hear it, so I'm going to find it.
Exactly.
And then that became all I wanted to do. Yeah.
Neither one of my parents were big into comedy. Grandparents, nobody.
Really?
Roy D. Mercer, my stepdad, introduced me to Roy D. Mercer.
So, having Trav there then is a huge piece of that puzzle, right? Because that's somebody to bounce that off of.
See, he had a real similar childhood in that, like, neither of his parents were, like, comedy fans.
Right.
But they liked to laugh.
Sure.
And it's the same thing with my family. I was the comic for my family, same as he was.
Well, his family's hilarious. Like, his brother's fucking wild.
Yeah.
His whole family's hilarious, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And, like, at get-togethers and stuff around holidays or whatever, like, all eyes went to me.
Yeah.
Like, that, it was like, what are you going to do to entertain the group here?
Did you ever, like, recite specials or anything for the family and stuff?
I absolutely ripped Jeff Foxworthy off throughout my entire formative years. I would just retell his shit.
Sure.
So joke stealing is kind of like a pattern for you.
Right, yeah. You see that it's a problem.
Get Brian Morton on the phone. We've got to the bottom of this shit.
Brian know what's up. Yeah.
I did do a lot of comedy bits, but I also did like a lot. I would probably really enjoy it. I will never allow myself to do it because I'm afraid of how much I'd enjoy it, but I bet I would fucking love improv.
Oh yeah, me too, brother.
I feel like I
Fuck
would,
yeah, he hates improv.
I
love
feel like
it.
I'd love it so much. That's why I don't do it, because I'm afraid I'll like it too much.
God.
It's like it's the same as heroin for me, because I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm afraid if I try it, I'm gonna really get
It
involved.
becomes your thing.
Yeah.
Then you're
But-
the chocolate syrup heroin comic.
Yeah, you don't want that.
You don't want that.
I do.
That's Mitch Hedberg. That's just Mitch Hedberg, dude.
I would like that.
But no, I used to do bits that like
Sure.
super offensive shit that you're
Yeah.
not allowed to do today. I would
Yeah.
tuck my shirt in and pretend to be gay. You know, you tuck the bottom of your shirt. and
Pretty
tuck
gay
it
thing to do is
make it
tucking your
like a
shirt
bra.
in.
No, like tuck it.
Oh, I thought you meant
through. No,
tucking
you
it
take
in
like you take like this and roll it up here. So you
Were you thinking the same thing?
For sure, I thought he meant I'd tuck my shirt in.
You were thinking the same
Gay.
thing.
Immediately gay.
Who
You
are
were
you,
thinking,
some kind of
okay,
fancy
I like-
business queer?
Yeah.
What's going on?
I was like,
What am I here for? A mortgage loan?
I'm sorry, I thought everyone did the shirt tuck.
No, I know what you're saying.
I know what
Where
you're
you loop
saying
it
now.
through.
I would have
Sure,
said
sure,
that's
sure.
tucking my shirt
I
in,
walk
bro.
around and act like I was gay, and then I would.
I'm going to be honest with you. I think we've come full circle as a society. It's funny again, and I want you to do it on stage. I think it went from funny to offensive to where people would appreciate the joke.
What about?
Don't take his advice. He also thinks the N word is funny. So
Well, I mean,
It's back. That's all I'm going to say.
objectively, it's funny. You take the shoes off, put your knees in them.
Oh, sure.
Tuck your arms in, pretend to be a midget.
Sure.
You know, things you're not allowed.
LPs, they call them now, little persons. Yeah,
Right, yeah.
LPs.
do you remember when we went to Buc-ee's?
Oh boy, do I! Have we told that?
That
Have
might
we
be
ever
the
talked
white. That
about
might be the most white trash thing ever. No, I'm
I
just kidding.
never-
That's me. I didn't mean that.
I always
I don't
thought
know if we've
about-
told that on this show.
Well, I always thought about trying to write a joke about it, but I don't know.
I thought I would have had a joke about it too, but
You had never been, right? Was
No,
that
we
correct?
should both. Honestly, y'all, we should both write a joke about it and
try
see whose is better.
It was so long ago, I don't
About
remember.
Buc-ee's?
Yeah.
He had never been, so there was like this
We were going to the
mystical
roast.
nature
We were-
about it.
We were going to our roast of each other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so, but we stop, and it was like, it was kind of mystical because he'd never been, and I was like,
Yeah.
it's amazing. We
And he was
walk
like
in,
showing me like the beaver
right?
nuts.
I'm
and
like, look around, and he's
get a
like, this
brisket.
can't possibly get any more mythological. And then I swear to God, Murphy, I swear to God, a baker's dozen LPs walk past us.
No.
A
Baker's
group,
dozen is the best
group-
way to describe that.
a group larger than you knew. I
Holy
didn't even know they
shit.
come in packs. I didn't even know they
Dude.
operate in packs. Walk by and he goes, "What kind of a magical place is this?" that we're in?" It was insane.
Dude, it
dude.
looked
I
like
would
Snow
have-
White was like letting him out to use the restroom. Like it really did.
Dude, that is.
It was so many of them in one place. And again,
And like,
I,
no, we're
I
not
don't
making
want to
fun of them.
dehumanize
We're
them.
not
They are
making
people.
fun of them.
We're not making fun of them. I will just say,
It was just-
objectively, when you see a large group of them, it's a little jarring because you don't always see more than
We
one.
were at
Sure.
Buc-ee's.
Rarely
I
do you
had
see
never,
one.
I had never been to Buc-ee's. We're there for the first time,
Right.
And like Buc-ee's is a lot.
Well, the
dude.
funny part, he was like, "There's so many drink fountains. There's a little red truck with fudge in the back of it. There's fresh brisket on the board. There's fucking 13
Fresh
midget.
brisket on
It's
the
fucking-
board.
dude, it blew his mind.
so much shit. Yeah,
Just when we thought it couldn't get any more mythical.
God.
It doesn't even have to. Literally, right before Christmas, we were Christmas shopping for my nephew, trying to get some sports equipment for him.
Yeah.
So we're in Dick's, and the one of the managers at one of our local Dick's
Sure.
is an LP.
Shout out.
I hit
Loss
that aisle.
prevention
It
manager.
is. It's
Yeah.
just.
I hit that aisle 3 times. I love it.
Yeah.
Dude, I can't tell you the joy.
There is something great
Something about an elf, really. Just
No, there's a
something
joy
about
that
it.
swells
I'm
in me.
sorry,
Where
I
I'm
feel
like,
bad for that one.
Look, like, we walked by the aisle, and I just stopped.
right.
And my wife's like, "What's going on?" And I was like, "Did you see that last time?"
It's kind of like a deer. It's like, don't spook it. Don't. Yeah.
Dude, I got so excited.
You start whisper
And
talking.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look at the bats again.
Pretend we're looking at something.
God.
Yeah. Dude, I
The
totally get it.
exci- I don't know why,
So
but it
that's
brings
one,
me so
dude.
much joy.
Agreed. One is great.
Yeah.
It's great, and they're
A
great.
baker's dozen.
If I
was
saw
fucking
12, I
hilarious.
would have passed out.
Bro,
Dude,
I'm
a
telling you.
baker's dozen was the
Well,
best
the best-
description I've ever heard.
The best
for
part
it.
is it's as we're leaving, so it's the sliding door. So they
Oh
open.
my
It's literally
God.
like,
So-
like as it opens, and they just
Dude, okay.
file in line past us, and Michael
So
is
we're professionals.
shaking laughing.
We're professionals. They all pass before either one of us start laughing.
Right, of course.
Of course.
But then we look to our right. and the van that they got out of
Yeah,
with two more little people
Yeah.
are still in it.
They're waiting. It's
and
running.
they see
Dude.
us losing
It's gotta
it,
be.
dude.
It's gotta be some kind of a conference or a group,
like a cult.
Or a cult. Yeah. What
have you heard? Okay, so you know Nate Bargatze, the Nateland podcast. He has a friend who's a little person. I cannot think. Nick something. Do you know who I'm talking about?
I know who you're talking. Yeah, he opens for Nate all the time. Yeah, he's great.
He tells a story on the show on the Nateland podcast one time where he is at a little person's convention with all of his friends.
Yeah.
Right, and one of them, their family had just saved up and got a very nice van that's outfitted for little people.
Yeah.
Nick Novicky. That's what
Chevy. Ford,
I don't
Hot Wheels,
Matchbox. Seriously, though,
it's actually
they can't help it, dude.
It's crazy. It's actually a Jeep, and then there's a remote control that goes with it. Too. So anyway, they're at this.
This is
little
the
person.
worst thing we've
I'm
ever
sorry.
talked about.
Yeah, I'm happy we're an hour and a half in. Honestly.
Yeah.
So they're at this little person's convention, and I don't remember the context of what happened. I think like some of the people,
if you will.
I think some of the people,
yeah. It's an LPC.
You down with the LPC?
I think
yeah, you know me.
the like owners of the vans were drinking or something, so they couldn't drive, and Nick like wasn't drinking, so like, hey, you should drive.
Yeah.
And how they have it outfitted for little people is they just have like pedal extenders on it.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Sure. Yeah.
And
I
so,
think that's why I love them is because I worked with one, and he used to just show me the world through his eyes.
Yeah.
And
Right.
a lot of step
I
ladders.
think it's fascinating. I really do.
I'm sorry.
Did you know when they fart,
No,
when they fart, they float a little bit?
Fuck
Did you know?
off. Fuck off. Anyway, so he like backs it out. Everything's fine. Puts it in drive. His brake pad, his brake thing falls off.
Oh, so he has no brake.
And he's in a parking garage, and it's going downhill.
Oh my god.
And so he's like freaking out. He doesn't know what to do, so he just whips it to the parked cars, hits 9 parked cars,
Oh my
hits the, like to slow down.
Yeah.
Hits the fucking like wall.
Yeah.
Totals the car.
Wow.
It was like a $40,000 van that they had just purchased.
Dude.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Well, see, but that's not his fault.
Exactly. Don't
See,
let him
that, like,
drive.
there's not a lot of custom car shops in my hometown that cater to adding. So
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Roll up a couple rugs on the pedal?
yeah,
You
no,
can't forget
he literally
gonna
just
do,
took a 2x4 and bolted it to his pedals.
Velcro a fishing rod to your foot. What are you gonna
Just
do?
use them like ski poles or something. Yeah.
You want to talk about scary?
Shit.
One of a family friend / family member in and out of family divorce. A guy I know,
Yeah.
and I'm very close to, is paralyzed from the chest down. Still drives. All of his controls are hand controls.
Oh, I don't like that.
Wow.
Riding with him,
Yeah.
super smooth driver. If you closed your eyes, you'd never know. But to watch someone only be able to apply the brakes and
Right.
gas with the things that are also steering
Yeah.
your hands,
It's a lot.
terrifying, dude.
Yeah.
Well,
So
he's still
my
a guy.
grandma-
He's
my
still a
grandma
man, so
was-
he
Right.
can
If he'd
drive.
been a woman, I never would have got in a car.
Right.
My
I'm not crazy, dude. Yeah, I'll ride with a paraplegic who doesn't have.
I'll still take
control of
him
his
over
leg.
my girlfriend. I'll
Right,
tell you
yeah,
that
but I'm
right
not
now,
getting in
bro.
a car with my wife.
My grandma, she was paralyzed from the waist down. Couldn't
Yep.
really use her hands, and we had to drive her around everywhere. So I'm feeling like we got
Weird
robbed.
thing about hands, they're above your waist.
Yeah,
So
That's true.
She may have lied to you.
That is true.
that's true.
She's like, when I hold my arms down, I can't
When I'm
feel it.
standing,
No, it was
nothing.
weird. It was like the weirdest thing.
If I can get them up here, we're great.
It really was the weirdest thing. Like her feet, or like her legs were completely paralyzed, but
Yeah.
then like her hands were like
Yeah.
paralyzed shut.
I had a grandma who was.
But she could move her arms.
She had a stroke, so her right arm didn't work, and her left leg. It was like one and the other.
Dude, those
Different
people
strokes. That's
make
who
it-
that joke's about. I swear to God.
Really?
Yep. I have a joke where the punchline is different.
My grandma
strokes. It's
got
about-
into a car accident leaving Bob Evans.
It's a tough place to get in a car.
deserved.
Yeah.
My family has never.
Deserved it.
My family doesn't eat at Bob Evans, and I didn't know why until I was older. And I was
Good.
like, I wanted
No
to
one
go.
does.
Yeah.
No one does.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
they're
but I've never
microwavable mashed potatoes.
Sure. And
good.
which are in the seafood department for some fucking reason.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's probably
Anyway.
because they're made of something seafood. They're
Secretly.
those people who are like have some kind of something going on and make fun of themselves
Yeah.
are always
favorite.
my favorite
The
jokes. Mike, the guy I was talking about who's paralyzed,
Yeah.
dude, just constantly,
Yeah.
just any little slight comment he would make. If, like,
Sure.
we're at a football game in high school Friday night. freezing cold outside, and he's like, God, it's cold out here. My legs are numb. I mean, not that they're not always numb, but like if you touch them with your hand,
they're also
cold.
cold.
Dude.
Yeah.
So cold.
Yeah.
And,
That's funny.
Well, there's all. I mean, the great and powerful Fiona Colley, who we love on the show. She, I've done shows with her in Knoxville. She's fucking hilarious. She's a Nashville comic. She's in a wheelchair. She has this really rare disease that she is slowly losing, like muscular function.
Right.
She's become a Kill Tony regular. Yeah. Just did the arena show with them, and also is. I mean, just out of this world, blowing up, and it's because exactly somebody who goes through something like that and is able to spin that into entertainment and joy. It's it's a beautiful thing, man. It's so great. It really is.
We're gonna have to wrap this one up.
That's a good way to end it.
Yeah,
better than
the reason he thinks gay is funny. The reason he thinks gay is funny is because it's just about himself.
Gay. Tuck your shirt in.
All right.
Wasn't worth that.
Yeah, it wasn't.
He's been out of the game for a while.
Tuck your shirt in over there.
Yeah. Why don't you zip that fucking zipper up is what you need to do. Pissing me off, dude.
What else?
Unbelievable. Your fly's down on your chest.
Nathaniel's been mad about a lot. I told him that I watched the Blood and Honey movie yesterday, the second one, and ate a bag of saltines, and he thinks I'm a serial killer now. So.
Yeah. Blood and Honey, dude.
Yeah.
And
I watched
all of
Mousetrap
that you can stream for free.
I know. Yeah.
You know YouTube's free.
He just needed a break from all the gay porn he's been watching.
Of course you do.
Yep, I have YouTube Premium.
Yeah.
So do I, but it's because Travis pays for it.
Mousetrap.
Shout out to Travis.
Real quick movie reviews. Mousetrap sucked. Don't watch it. Blood and Honey 2 is better than the first one.
Oh, I thought
don't worry.
Mousetrap is the
Mickey Mouse one.
Mickey Mouse.
Okay. There's also a movie from the 90s called Mousetrap about two guys trying to kill a mouse in an old house.
There is.
Fire.
Not
So
that
good,
one.
dude.
Mousetrap, the Mickey Mouse.
It's also a
Kinda
board game, Mousetrap, that I never understood how to play.
Michael Rose Comedy.
At Carowinds.
Michael Rose Comedy on
A lot of
Instagram.
Mousetrap. Yeah.
In Booer Comedy.
In Booer Comedy, TikTok and Instagram. You can find me there. Don't Tell Tri-Cities. Come out tomorrow. If you're hearing this, that means tomorrow we have our first ever theater show. The Wallace Theater. As of this recording, we are about a week out, and I have 1/4 of the tickets already gone for the first time ever. They're moving quick, brother.
Awesome,
so there's a good chance it's sold out. If you're listening to this on Friday, there's a good chance it's sold out. If it's not, you should come. I'm going to be there. Michael's not going to be there because he's gay.
I actually was going to be there, but
okay. Well, good. He's going to be there. Mark's coming if he wants to. He's got 2 free seats anytime. So he's coming too. You can catch us all there.
He made me pay last time I went to a Don't Tell show. You
That's because he likes me.
Yeah.
Well, you sold a house.
I kind of forgot there was a camera over here. They've just looked at the back of my head the whole time.
Every time.
Okay.
We're working on ways to up the quality.
We're gonna move the studio at some point.
Yeah.
Not have a hole in the door back here.
You need a Nate camera here.
Yeah.
That just looks at you.
Yep.
And then this camera, so when we're talking to you, you can see us.
I think just one on me. I don't think anyone else needs to
I mean,
be
you
in
did.
the shot.
You did. We're an hour and a half in. I think you talked for 60 of the 90 minutes.
That's the
No,
point.
dude, I ran my mouth the whole time.
This is my show. Well, he's coming back, so it doesn't matter. Murphy's
okay.
coming back. He's
Yeah,
coming back again. You can catch us
Anything
again.
you want to plug before we go?
What am I going to plug, bro?
His triumphant return to comedy, which you can catch
Next Wednesday with Michael.
False. That's not true. But my Instagram is still J Murphy Comedy.
There you go.
So,
See this
Perfect.
motherfucker. You wait.
hold on.
Hold. Yep.
He hasn't changed it yet.
Everyone listening, mark my words. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get him back.
I'll be back. I've said it for years. I'll be back.
Yeah.
I'm going to get it back. You're going to catch him at Don't Tell Tri-Cities. Anyways, follow him on Instagram at the Chocolate Syrup Comedian. And follow the podcast. Talkin
We have
Bits
Banana
Pod.
Head and Serial Killer checking out. We
Bye.
love you.
Bye.
Bye.